Hello, I am Kylie Hampton.
Crystal Varian.
And we are here with a good friend of ours and past client, Thomas McNeal. He is the Director of Emergency Management for Dorchester County. So,
thank you guys for coming to chat with me this morning.
Yeah, we wanted to dive into hurricane preparedness. And you are the best person to help those of our clients and friends, new people moving to the area that know nothing. And maybe a good refresher for people that have been in the area for a while, just haven't seen a real hurricane to prepare for. So what are some things that our community members can do to prepare for a hurricane?
The most important thing is to have awareness, to understand when there is a threat that's coming, right? Whether it's a hurricane, or torrential rains from a tropical storm or something like that, but also have awareness of what to do in those events.
Yeah.
So
not freak out.
Not freak out. It's know where to get your weather information, know how to get information from the local government on what to do if an evacuation's been called or where to go, and what to do for your family. And that includes your extended family that doesn't live with you, and even your household pets, which are also our furry family members.
Yeah.
It's very important to make a kit, to be ready, whether you're staying, whether you're going, and sometimes that choice is made for you. But it's really important to just have awareness and know what to do. And we're happy to talk about that this morning.
Great. Well, let's dive into, you mentioned kit. So what would be in that kit?
So we'd like to tell people 3 days. Right? Imagine being on your own for 3 days. And now we all just went through the pandemic, and we remember what that craziness was like. And we know every time a storm's coming, the grocery stores get mobbed and everybody goes, oh my gosh, I got to go buy milk and eggs and bread. And but we like people to be a little bit more prepared, because sometimes emergencies sneak up on us, like an earthquake or a tornado or something like that, where we're not ready for it. So having yourself the necessary food and drinks for 3 days for your family. And when I teach a preparedness class, I like to tell people, imagine grandma's pantry. Grandma always had food. Well, in modern times, we don't shop that way. We shop for 3 days at the most. And most people go to the grocery store a couple of times a week. And so we don't have the giant pantry full of food that can sustain us forever. It's really important that we make sure that we have enough food for our family and our pets, and that we have enough water. 1 gallon of water per day is a minimum per person. And that includes washing up. But some people are like, oh, I can't drink that much water. No, have the palate of water, but also have the juices, have the Cokes. And when you think about disaster food, it's disaster rations, right? So can you eat a cold can of ravioli? Yes, you can, right? It doesn't taste as good as when it's warm, but you can, right? So we're not talking about giant meals. I mean, some people will invest in the military MREs or other kinds of preparedness food. Those are great. Those are fantastic. But, most people, you just need to have some stock that you keep on hand. And every now and then you're going to have ravioli for lunch as you rotate your stock.
That's true. Check the expiration date. Every so often.
And we tell people every time you change your clock, you change your batteries and your smoke detectors, and you check your kit. That's just a good reminder of when do I check my kit. The other things.
How often you do that?
Yearly. Yearly. The other things we like to tell people about kits is entertainment. Lights are out. Cards. You're what are you going to play? And a great tip for parents is to get a game that your kid has never played. Because then it's exciting for the whole family to unwrap a brand new game and play that game.
My husband unintentionally bought backgammon right before a hurricane came in, and we played. And it was that's such a great point.
You become backgammon masters by the end of the 3 days.
It was great.
Yeah. And just thinking through that kind of stuff, thinking through batteries for flashlights, and it's the dad worst enemy is the flashlight, and why are my batteries dead? Right? Whether it's sat too long or whether you have a son like I do who plays with flashlights.
Yes.
Why are the batteries dead in my flashlight? And so having those extra supply of batteries that are part of your kit. And just thinking through some of those comfort items that you might need, especially if it's something that you need to pick up and travel with quickly. A lot of times I'll tell people, just keep it in a tote. You got some food stuff, you got a pallet of water, and you got a tote with all your stuff, and you can pick that up, throw it in the car, and be gone in minutes. And, it even includes the food for your pet.
That's a good point.
All those types of things are extremely important to have.
So when it comes to putting a plan together, where
Right.
should someone start?
So the first thing they need to do is, for us here in the Low Country, along the coastal region, is to know your zone. Know exactly where you live and whether or not you're part of an evacuation zone, because that changes your plans. If you don't live in an evacuation zone, you don't have to run from the possibility of flooding. And that's what the evacuation zones are about. It's about flooding. The wind threat is different depending on what kind of home you live in, where you live. Trees coming down around your property. Those type of things can be a different type of threat. So we say, you run from water, you hide from wind, right?
Okay.
And if you can't hide from the wind, or you're not comfortable hiding from the wind, then you're making your own choices as far as evacuation to a different area that won't have those substantial threats during a storm.
Okay.
So that part of your planning piece is, do I go, do I not go? And if I do go, where am I going? How am I getting there? Pre-planning. It's just like when
Again, for like about 3 days, would you say?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean roughly. Because obviously, if we all evacuate and the storm primarily misses us, you're back home pretty quick. If it hits and there's severe damage to certain areas, it might be a while. So understanding that, we tell people have a little bit of cash on hand, all that kind of stuff to really be able to kind of live off the land, if you will, if you don't have a friend or family to go visit. And then the plan for, do you have all of your important documents saved in a similar
yes.
place?
I was just thinking about
I
that.
like to tell people, get a thumb drive and scan everything.
Okay.
Scan the birth certificates, the marriage certificates, the important documents for your home, your insurance.
Yes.
Write down all your bank's stock information, everything that you would need to restart your life, and put it on a thumb drive.
Yeah, people don't
And
realize.
throw that thumb drive in your kit. But also, it's a great idea to take another thumb drive and give it to that relative that doesn't live near you.
Okay.
Because sometimes if I could just get a hold of my uncle, I can get my thumb drive
That's a
back.
good
I can start my
idea.
life over. And
Yeah.
it's kind of the
Have them put it in their fire.
right, and a lot of it's like
Firebox.
your house burns down. It happens, occasionally to people, and we see it all the time.
Yeah.
How do you start your life over when you're standing in your yard with your family safe and sound, but all your stuff just went up in smoke? How do you start over? What do you need, right? And the faster you can get moving in that regard, the better.
I think that's some of our worst nightmares,
Yeah, oh yeah.
So.
But the simple peace of mind of knowing I have all my documents together. There's nothing worse if I came to you and said, you got 5 minutes, you're leaving. You're never coming back.
Yeah.
Ugh.
What would you take?
Right.
Where are family photos?
I'm gonna go
all
home
those
right
kinds
now.
of things. It's true. It's really true. And people joke, "What are you scaring everybody about today, Tom?" But I don't mean to scare people, but it's really important that people take preparedness seriously, and that they have a plan, they have a kit, they've thought through a lot of these items, and then they can be more prepared. And being more prepared makes you more resilient, makes you better able to bounce back after a disaster, but also helps the community, right?
Yeah.
There's the less people that us as government have to help, the better, right? Because then we can apply more help to a smaller group of people and really help
need
them
it.
than when everybody is hurting. And then sometimes you find people that shouldn't be hurting,
Yeah.
but they didn't prepare. So that's really what we like to press, is that, especially if you don't want government to be involved in your life,
Yeah.
prepare so government never has to be involved in your life. You took care of yourself, you have your insurance, you have all those things, and you're just ready. A couple other good things to have on hand is fuel. Because there's gas stations everywhere, and even if they're still standing and viable, they may not have power. And you can't get the gas out of the ground through the pumps if they don't have power. Now, some gas stations have backup generators and stuff, and that's fantastic. But that can be a real problem after a major storm, is that you have a car, but you don't have gas. So how do you get around? We advise people to buy one of those nice blue tarps and some roofing nails and just keep them in your garage, because if you lose a whole bunch of shingles, it's a lot faster to get help and get someone up there to put that tarp over the roof if you would have a leak for a temporary patch until you can get it fixed, because blue tarps become real hard to find in the hardware stores after a disaster, where a lot of people have lost shingles and parts of their roof. Just having little things like that on hand, and it's a lot easier then to kind of budget for it, right? Where you're not suddenly having to spend a whole bunch of money to get these things, because on a nice sunny weekend one time you stopped by a hardware store and you bought a tarp and some nails.
And some extra batteries.
And you just put them up, right? And then, it's surprising how much people kind of don't think of the extra stuff, right? They think, oh, kit, I got some, cans of soup and I got a pallet of water, and that's where they stop. But the more you can just keep going, and I mean, there's folks who take preparedness extremely seriously. Our prepper friends, and sometimes people like to make fun of them, but they're not always wrong. Right? Sometimes they go to great lengths to make sure they're extremely prepared, and that's fantastic. But,
they're the ones you'll call when you're stranded and you're like,
I should listen to you.
Right.
Yeah. So is this year, like, what should we expect? Is it going to be an active year for hurricanes?
So every year they come out with the predictions, and they say it's going to be an active year. Almost every year they say it's going to be an active year, right? But it only takes one.
Right.
It can be a year with 0 hurricanes but one, and so we always plan for the worst, right? And we always think we can never let our guard truly down. And we can never just focus on the threat of hurricanes. That's the big one in our area. That's the one is kind of most famous for us. But there's so many other threats and hazards that are out there. We rely so much on power. We rely so much, those of us that aren't on a well, we rely so much on local water.
Me coming to your house.
Right. That's stuff that we want people to really understand is how do you get ready to be on your own for a while, because if you think about the help that's coming, so much help is coming in a post-disaster world. There's so much help coming, but it takes a while to move an army, right? And that's why we talk about the 3 days of preparedness and all that, because eventually the Red Cross and everybody else is there, and there's food everywhere and there's water everywhere, and we figure out how to do fuel. But those first 3 days, while the army is moving in to help, you're on your own, and you have to be able to take care of yourself and take care of your family. Medicines are important to really think about for yourself, for your pets. We have pets on depression medicines now. You got to think about that, because inevitably it's you're down to the last few pills, and that's when the storm hits and you run out because the pharmacies are closed. So make sure you think about those things. It's never good to wait till the last of your prescription is gone to refill. Right? As soon as you're allowed to refill.
Anyway.
Yes, it is. It really is. And make sure that you are taking care of the loved ones and neighbors that may not be able to take care of themselves as well. Right? You got to go get them. You got to check on them. You got to take care of them. And lastly, we use our devices now, our phones, our tablets, our computers, and even our televisions to get information. We really need to think about an environment where we don't necessarily have the ability to charge our stuff.
Right.
Or the phone towers are down, and we're not able to use our devices as regularly to get information.
So what do we do?
Buy a radio.
Okay.
Right?
And a map.
Paper map and a radio. Have that. Every glove box should have a paper map of the area you live in, just in case. And make sure that you have a radio that you can get in the local stations, and battery operated. You can get a little cheap, little hand crank ones they sell. All that, it all works. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that every household should have a NOAA all hazards weather radio.
Okay.
Right? The weather radios are the ones that go off in the middle of the night. I got one around here somewhere. And it is the alerting system from the National Weather Service.
Okay. Like the practice ones that they do on the radio?
So there's actual weather radios that we have that the National Weather Service hits the button and it goes really loud, beep, 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 beep,
Yeah.
and it wakes you up, and then the computer voice says, the National Weather Service has issued a tornado watch for your area, and gives you some other basic information. Those are vital, right? And they're battery operated, and they plug in, and every household, they're as important as, in my opinion, they're as important as a fire detector in your house.
Okay.
Smoke alarm.
Okay.
Because that is how, if I could live in your house with you, and every time there's something bad, I could tap you on the shoulder and wake you up. Well, that's what they do. That is literally what that device does. It wakes you. I tell you, when you get the days and nights where the storms are rolling through, and every 5 minutes there's a new alert, it gets annoying. Everybody, you get real tired of it going off. But that's exactly what it is. It's that important that the National Weather Service says this could hurt you. This might kill you. We should tap you on the shoulder and wake you up and tell you that this alert is a real issue. So I advise everybody to get a NOAA all hazards weather radio. You can get them all over the place.
I'm sure.
And they're not very expensive.
Okay.
But that's a really important, and it's a great gift for the person who has everything.
Yeah.
You're sending somebody's neighbor kid going off to college. What do we get them? Get them a weather radio.
Yeah.
They'll be the only kid in the dorm
Especially
that
this
knows
time
what's
of
going
year
on.
coming up.
It really is.
Hurricane season.
It's huge. And then your average thunderstorms and everything else. It tells you about it all.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And now we're in Summerville, so Summerville actually touches all counties.
Right.
So in that regards, how do the different counties communicate and operate?
Right.
Do you work together?
Yeah, good
How
question.
does that?
Yeah, here in the Tri-County, between ourselves here in Dorchester, Berkeley County, and Charleston County, the emergency management offices and all your emergency responders work very closely together. Our emergency responders day to day cross borders for fires, for law enforcement events, for emergency medical system events. And then your emergency management teams are in constant communication. We write plans together so that all our plans are very similar.
Okay.
So it's much easier to manage each other's stuff even.
Yeah.
And then we communicate constantly about dangers or needs and what's going on in the world. And during emergencies, if it's an emergency that doesn't affect all of us, we have the immediate, very competent backup of folks who are emergency managers in their own right, in their own jurisdiction, who will come to help serve immediately. So we really do communicate. And when we've activated our emergency operations centers in each of our counties, there's a constant flow of communication between those emergency operations centers as to what's going on and how each of us is responding, and how do we share information of hazards or evacuations. And here in Dorchester County and Berkeley County, we even have to run shelters or provide shelters for Charleston County folks who are evacuating, because they evacuate so many people potentially they can't shelter them all themselves. And then we also communicate directly with the state emergency management, and then through them, the federal government and FEMA. That's how we all communicate, and it's a very robust system of information sharing, resource management, and then just recovery operations after an event.
That sounds good. Well, thank you so much. We are so glad to have had the opportunity to chat with you about hurricane preparedness. I know that I certainly feel a little bit more confident about what I need to do, although we have some of this in place. What more we can do to protect ourselves, and so hopefully we help our clients and neighbors and community members better prepare themselves for the next hurricane, which we don't want to think about, but we live here, so we have to. So thank you so much.
And please follow us on our social media accounts. That's a great way to stay up to date with new information. And June 4th, we'll have June 3rd, we'll have a Hurricane Expo at Ashlee River Park, where you can come visit with us, National Weather Service, tons of other first responders. You get to see our new unified command unit, our big command unit.
Nice.
So come on out. There's balloons for the kids and all kinds of other fun stuff to do.
Sounds good, and a great reason to come check out the new park.
Beautiful park.
Yeah. All right. Well,
thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much.